Alright guys, we're back with Let's Play Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. We're playing as Apollo in the monstrous turnabout case. I don't know what headway we made in this case in the investigation phase, but I guess we're gonna go into the first day of trial of, with what we got. We learned a lot about the legends, about the people. We know the aide to the guy we're defending is kind of schemy. We know he's the one that actually killed the person, I think. At least we know that, too. So, I mean, yeah, hopefully Apollo can come out on top. You okay, Athena? You've been really antsy ever since we got here. I'm just excited. This is my first real court case, after all. Yeah, a real ball of excitement she is. I know just what she needs. Athena! Hey, didn't you ever learn about indoors and outdoor voices? I'm just trying to show you the best way to relieve your pre-trial jitters. By scaring the daylights out of me? No. I find that shouting, "I'm fine!" in a loud voice really relieves stress. It's part of my Cords of Steel voice workout, and a must before every trial. You want me to shout here? That's right. Here. I'll go first, then you try. I'm Apollo Justice and I'm fine! Alright, I'm Athena Sykes. And I'm fine! I think that actually worked. I thought it might help. Always works for me. An old friend of mine from junior high and I say it all the time. I see. A proven remedy to calm the soul. I like it. Hey, how about we finish off with a race around the courthouse? The point is to relieve stress, not get totally exhausted. What's with all the racket, you two? Ah, Mr. Wright. Just a little voice workout. Hey, what's with the suit? Oh, this... I was thinking about getting my attorney's badge back, that's all. That's all? That's huge news. But why now? I have a feeling I'll be needed in the courtroom again sometime soon. But we can talk about that another time. No fair. Inquiring minds want to know. But wow. I'm so used to him in his usual laid-back clothes. That suit makes him look like $1 million. By the way, have you heard about the prosecutor assigned to this case? Yeah, he's serving time, but before that he was a prosecutor. He also uses psychology? That's right. I've heard the rumors about how he was back before his conviction. Using the power of suggestion, he could make even the most stalwart defendants confess. Psychology in the courtroom. Been hearing a lot about that lately. So he must be a pretty scary guy, considering he's a prison inmate and all. So they say. They also say he'll cut you down if you talk too much. Ah! I knew he was gonna be bad news. It's probably just hyperbole. At least, I hope for your sake. Wait, so is it true or not? Let's just say you should be concise and choose your words carefully. If you'd like to keep that head of yours attached to the rest of your body, that is. Yikes! Better tone down my cords of steel too. So are you all ready? It might be a good idea to check the court records again before stepping into the ring. Right, Mr. Wright. But I'm fine. I'll be watching from the gallery. Good luck. Thanks. Okay, let's do this. The odds of pulling this off are ridiculously low, but that's nothing new. Believe in our client. Seek the truth. That's all we can do. Hang in there, Mayor Tenma. Here comes justice.
I have a feeling we're gonna get a cutscene so we can see this new
Prosecutor. April 18th, 9:30 a.m. District Court. Courtroom number 4. Before it was blown to bits. Day 1. Court is now in session. Court is now in session for the trial of Damien Tenma. Apollo Justice, defense team leader, is ready, Your Honor. I know that big booming voice anywhere. As chipper as ever, Mr. Justice? But who is the young lady next to you? I'm Athena Sykes, Mr. Justice's junior partner and fresh out of law school. Well now, full of beans, too, Excellent. Makes an old man feel young again. Now for the prosecution. It appears the prosecution is not ready yet. Never fear, for I shall explain. It's just a minor procedural complication, Your Honor. The prosecutor for this case is being escorted from prison as we speak. Prison? Oh yes, of course. I almost forgot that he is currently serving time. Cutscene time.
Yup, Prosecutor Blackwell's an inmate.
What did he do? I'm gonna assume he killed someone that was close to Athena, because Athena seemed to know him. Look at that. Jeez. Dude's psycho.
But even a convicted murderer still got a job to do and duties to perform. It could happen to you. Yeah, sexy crap. That outfit was a mess right out. Hey, don't ever forget, one thing is for certain, the rest of your life.
Uh-oh.
Who's that with his back to us over there? That's him. I'm sure of it. Prosecutor Blackwell.
Ahem. Is the prosecution ready?
Enough jabbering. Get on with it already.
Oh, of course. Forgive me.
Why are all the people related to this case so scary?
Very well, Prosecutor Blackwell. Your opening statement, if you please. No! What's the matter?
Must we continue to fritter away time like this? It is all right there in the indictment. An opening statement would be pointless.
Pointless? Oh, well...
Looks like the cat, or in this case, the prosecutor has the judge's tongue.
But we need an opening statement as an overview of the case at hand.
Well then, your baldness. If it's so very important, why don't you do the honors? Why don't you do the honors?
Who? Me?
There's a term for people who whine and fuss about how they need silly, useless things. And then decide they no longer want them, once it's theirs. A selfish old fool.
Huh?
Wait, was that the prosecution's opening statement? Old dotards such as you are a plague upon the young. I pity your poor grandchildren. Or is it great-grandchildren? Insulting the judge.
All these years I thought the opening statement was the prosecutor's job. But I suppose I could give it a try. Might be a nice change of pace.
What? He actually fell for that? That must have been the power of suggestion Mr. Wright was talking about.
The opening statement, huh? Let's see here. The victim was one Rex Cube, alderman of Nine Tails Vale. And the defendant, Damien Tenma, mayor of Tenma Town, is accused of his murder.
And why, pray tell, was the mayor arrested?
His prints were on the murder weapon. Plus he had a motive, the elimination of the biggest roadblock to the municipal merger. The caretaker and the secretary, other potential suspects, both have alibis. And his daughter, who was also in the vicinity at the time of the incident, has no motive.
So in a nutshell,
I'd have to say the charges against the defendant are incontrovertible.
bravo, your baldness. Your years of experience shine bright like your head.
Flattery will get you everywhere.
He's playing Simon Says with the judge.
Moving right along now. Let's hear from our first witness for today, Detective Fulbright. Witness, please state your name and occupation. I am the detective assigned to this case, Bobby Fulbright. Oh, and I'll also be keeping tabs on old Blackwell here. I also heard you would provide protection if it ever came to that.
It would seem that I have been sorely underestimated. Wait, who's protecting who from what?
Still, I truly believe anyone can turn their life around, even old Blackwell there.
Fulbright, save your platitudes for funerals. Get on with your statement.
That's the spirit. Justice must be swift and true. I see it in your eyes. There is hope for your rehabilitation and return to society. I will never give up on you.
Prosecutor Blackwell doesn't seem to intimidate Detective Fulbright. Well, you know what they say, ignorance is bliss. Oh, so that's why Detective Fulbright was assigned to Blackwell. He's so oblivious.
Now, let's have your first statement, Detective Fulbright. You got it. But first, I'd like to say to the defense that justice will ultimately prevail.
About the murder.
Alderman QB was murdered with a spear that had been on the wall. The fingerprints of the defendant, Damien Tenma, were found on the murder weapon. At the time, Alderman QB was asleep from a drug he unwittingly ingested. Mayor Tenma attacked his helpless victim, impaling him like a human shish kebab. But the sudden pain jolted the victim awake and he grabbed the statue and struck back.
Alderman QB had been slipped some kind of sleep-inducing drug?
That's right. The accused was scared because the alderman was a former pro wrestler. So he slipped him a drug to make sure he'd be out cold and defenseless. Here's the autopsy report to prove it.
Cause of death, stabbed with a spear. Estimated time of death around the victim had been in a drug-induced slumber.
And the victim managed to attack his attacker despite being impaled by a spear? That sounds almost superhuman. Is it even possible? Well, he was a former pro wrestler after all. That spear was probably nothing more than a mosquito bite to him.
Objection!
Not so fast. Don't try to brush it all off by saying the alderman had been a pro wrestler. Do you really expect us to believe he could fight back after being skewered by a spear? Never heard of the incredible feats of which man is capable of in a pinch, have you? Like the samurai of yore, wrestlers can battle through intense pain. It sharpens their senses. I used to talk about it with a former wrestler I met in the clink. I don't know. It still sounds a little far-fetched. Does it now? Then perhaps we should test the theory on you with the edge of my blade. I didn't sign up for this! And so your life is spared, for now. Please let those shackles be made of titanium. I don't want to die.
My investigations are as thorough as they are foolproof, or my name isn't Fulbright. I vow to resign immediately if I ever make a false arrest.
The accused's prints were on the weapon, and he's the one person without an alibi. Quite decisive evidence, wouldn't you agree, your baldness?
The defendant is sounding guiltier by the minute.
He has the judge leaning toward a guilty verdict, and the trial's just barely begun.
What's more,
A curious rumor about the accused is making the rounds. They say he seeks the merger for the purpose of freeing Tenma Taro from his imprisonment. Truth be told, I can think of no real reason to show interest in that backwards burg. Perhaps he's a complete nutter and really does seek to release an imaginary demon. Either way, he is raving, mad, and more than capable of murdering the alderman.
that mayor's a strange one. I heard he went to a blood drive, but instead of donating, he tried to make a withdrawal. Order! There will be no gossiping in my court.
Your baldness. Please take a gander at those charms plastered across his cranium. I hear they are meant to keep him safe from possession by the demon Tenma Taro. Then again...
Why is it better to get what you want now instead of later?
Perhaps he's already under the demon's spell. Behold, the lunatic appears poised to lunge at you at any moment. The rumors and quirks of Mayor Tenma have no relevance to this case. Besides, those charms on his head, they're just a fashion statement, I think.
Come to think of it, such things don't seem relevant to the case, do they?
The prosecution will refrain from dragging our client's reputation through the mud. Oh, what a dreadfully fearsome lass we have here. Phew. Thanks for that lifeline, Athena. Careful, Apollo. He has the judge dancing in the palm of his hand. The power of suggestion is one of the more powerful tools in Simon Blackwell's arsenal. He's trying to manipulate everyone's impression to suit his objectives. This guy really is bad news.
Make sure you never go back. Visit TrueCar.com today.
In any case, it seems the victim did manage to defend himself despite being impaled. What sort of weapon did he use against his attacker?
None other than this statue right here.
It appears to be a statue of two strange creatures locked in battle.
Two yokai, to be exact. On one side is the nine-tailed fox, and on the other, Tenma Taro. Quite interesting if you think about it. It's as though this very case were rendered in art.
Okay, so that he used that to hit the killer. Mr. Justice, you may proceed with your cross-examination.
Okay, here we go.
Okay. So, those weapons on the wall of the Fox chamber. I presume they are real? Don't you think keeping real weapons around like that is rather dangerous?
No matter what he collected, the alderman insisted it be the real deal. For instance, he had a real demon's club in his possession. Apparently one of his ancestors claimed it after defeating a demon in battle.
What? It's gotta be an old wives' tale.
The alderman had pure, unadulterated justice flowing in his veins. Whatever he did it right. We've lost a world champion of justice in his death.
Nothing but claptrap and balderdash, if you ask me. Now stop your bleeding and tell us about the weapon.
Your wish is my command. The fingerprints of the defendant, Damien Tenma, were found on the murder weapon.
It doesn't make sense if you think about it. Prints could be easily wiped off.
You do have a point there.
I'd venture to say he did not wipe off the prints because he could not.
What do you mean?
Looks like he wants you to figure it out. Well, don't just stand there, show him who's boss. I'm totally lost, so why don't you just tell me the answer already? I don't think he saw that plea for help.
You feeling alright, kid? Running a fever, perhaps? I wish trials came with a reset button. Well, the specifics may yet come to light. Please proceed, Detective Fulbright.
Trial's going swimmingly, Apollo.
At the time, Alderman QB was asleep from a drug he unwittingly ingested.
Come to think of it, a coffee cup was found on the floor. Was the sedative in his coffee?
Bingo! We found traces of a sleeping agent all over the inside of the cup.
And that is why he was out cold. That is until he leapt to his feet upon being impaled by the mayor. What an awful way to wake up. A rather stimulating eye-opener, if you ask me. I, too, would have risen to the attack, for to die in battle is the samurai way. Paradise awaits fallen heroes, but that hole in his stomach would make eating a challenge.
Prosecutor Blackwell, please. Those morbid jokes of yours have no place in this court.
Says the jester in Detectives Geis.
Moving right along. Mayor Tenma attacked his helpless victim, impaling him like a human shish kebab.
Hold it!
So the alderman was drugged because he was really strong.
Did you see those rock-hard muscles of his? I'm surprised the spear even managed to pierce that armor like musculature. I admit, I'm completely jealous of that righteous body of his.
Well, he did look pretty buff, even in that suit he had on. Quite a difference when compared with a yellow belly like you. Yellow belly? Who even says that anymore? Yeah, and the color's all wrong, too. Oh, I know. How about a squishy red tomato? I move to strike both of your comments from the record.
Mr. Justice's character is not the issue here. Now let's get back to what happened after the far more muscular alderman was impaled. Yes, well, your average person would likely have died on the spot. But the sudden pain jolted the victim awake and he grabbed the statue and struck back.
Could he really have attacked his attacker after being impaled with that huge spear?
Absolutely. After all, he was once a pro wrestler. The injustice of being drugged and speared was answered with a righteous counterattack.
But does being a former pro wrestler make him superhuman?
Absolutely. After all, he was one of the good guys, like a superhero on the side of justice. Even though he was retired, he could still don his superhero guise in times of need.
Objection!
You need to lay off the comic books, Detective. We're talking about real life here. Setting aside the half-wit's flight of fancy, the fact is this. The court ordered post-mortem concluded. The victim moved after his skewing. So he found the strength somehow to attack his attacker, huh? Detective Fulbright's testimony sounds airtight. No wonder he's so confident. No, he only thinks it's airtight. It's up to us to poke some holes in it. That part about the alderman fighting back sounds like a big hole waiting to be poked. Okay.
Alright, so I have to present something here, definitely. But what? What do I present?
This is a tough one.
What I don't get is no prints were found on it, but it was used to attack the dude, right?
Objection!
It's a little weird to me.
Did the alderman really strike the mayor? What? Are you questioning my sense of justice? Your so-called justice needs to find itself a pair of legs to stand on. You claim the alderman struck back after the mayor put a spear through him. But the statue he supposedly used to defend himself creates a major hole in your theory. It would appear that the defense has a counter-argument. Very well. Let's hear what the defense thinks is odd about detective statue theory.
There are no fingerprints.
There are no fingerprints on this supposedly crucial piece of evidence. And if you look at the crime scene photo, you'll notice that the alderman isn't wearing gloves. Yes, I believe he is quite gloveless indeed. If he touched the statue with his bare hands, he should have left some fingerprints. Detective Fulbright, you did take that into account during your investigation, didn't you? No, this can't be happening! Did I arrest the wrong man? You did it, Apollo! You knocked Detective Fulbright off his high horse. Well, it's just 1 point in our favor. Who do you suppose clubbed the mayor if it wasn't the alderman? Well, if it wasn't the alderman, that means someone else must have clubbed the mayor. You mean there was a third party there in the Fox chamber? Exactly. And this could be the big break we've been looking for. There does seem to be a hole in the prosecution's argument. Prosecutor Blackwell, would you care to respond to the defense's assertion? The least you could do is look at me while being dismissive. Your mind is as dull as an unhoned blade, Justice Dono. Justice Dono? He's been watching too many samurai flicks. It will take far more than that to cut down Simon Blackwell. A whelp such as you has no hope against my superior swordsmanship. This is a trial, not a sword fight, Prosecutor Blackwell. There is a perfect good explanation for the lack of prints on the statue. You might recall that blood-stained cloth found at the scene of the crime. Well, it just so happens that the blood was the mayor's. So, what are you getting at? Hone your mind, boy. Why was there blood on that cloth? Solve that riddle and you shall see that the hole you thought you found is but an illusion. Now let's see. How was that cloth used? Was it used...
to wrap the statue?
Maybe the alderman wrapped the statue in the cloth? In short, he wasn't touching the statue directly when he used it to strike back at the mayor.
Ah!
Precisely. Bully for you, boy.
Ah, it was nothing. Apollo, don't let him start manipulating you too. You just closed the hole for the prosecution.
I did,
Yeah, I did.
Right. That a statue wrapped in cloth would leave no fingerprints is as plain as day. But this also proves there are no holes in our theory of the alderman striking back.
Oops. Ah!
Huh?
Now, do you see how dull your mind is?
I'll make sure to sharpen it next time.
A particular frightening inmate once told me that. He always tenderly honed his blades before he went to work, like the samurai of yore.
Samurai? Sounds more like a homicidal maniac to me.
Actually, he was working in the prison kitchen at the time.
Wait, so the inmate was a murdering samurai prison chef?
Sounds like an anime.
It would seem that the victim and his killer were the only ones there after all.
I was kinda attached to that hole. Now what?
Apollo, I just thought of something. If they didn't find anyone's fingerprints on the statue, who's to say someone other than the alderman didn't hit the mayor with it?
Why didn't I think of that?
Anybody could have not let prints on it.
Then who, pray tell, struck the mayor with the statue? Please illuminate us with your wisdom, young lady.
There's only one answer. The real killer!
Prove the existence of this real killer, then. What evidence have you?
Oh, I'll give you evidence, alright.
Athena, are you sure about this?
To borrow your words, Apollo, I'm fine. Take a look at this. Black feathers and tracks, allegedly from a yokai, were found at the scene. I believe they're from the third party who struck the mayor with that statue.
Is the defense actually suggesting some sort of monster killed that alderman?
That's exactly what I'm suggesting.
Objection!
No, Athena. You just lost what little credibility we had left. Ah! Sorry. Guess I got carried away.
Mr. Justice, there's no time to deal with objections between members of the defense.
Sorry, Your Honor. It's just this kid's still, well, a kid. Ouch. You meanie! I'm reporting this to Mr. Wright.
So, is this court to believe the feathers and tracks are from a yokai, as you put it?
No, Your Honor. I believe they are a fabrication. The real killer wants us to believe some sort of monster murdered the alderman.
Interesting. Why do you suppose the killer would do that?
Why indeed?
Mr. Justice, you seem as new to this as your partner is.
Ouch. I'm not reporting to Mr. Wright.
Hoy, fool bright. Explain to his baldness what these brats are missing. You know, the who and why behind those feathers and tracks.
What? You mean you can explain all that?
Our investigative prowess is without equal. I'm starting to think I chose the wrong profession.
Damn. Apollo's sucking.
Very well. Let's hear about these so-called yokai feathers and tracks.
Witness testimony. Feathers and tracks.
This entire case centers on one man's attempt to crush opposition to the municipal merger. Mayor Tenma panicked when the Amazing Nine-Tails helped embolden the protesters, so he struck the villagers' fear by fabricating a monster. The strange feathers and tracks he planted made it look like a yokai was the killer. Those feathers and tracks stroked the villagers' fear? Stoked. Absolutely. He knew exactly how to prey on their superstitious minds. Those feathers only gave weight to the idea that the alderman was slain by a demon. The accursed demon Tenma Taro, that is. Tenma who? Tenma Taro, the legendary demon locked away in the village's forbidden chamber. From a young age, the villagers are taught to fear the great black-feathered demon, and thus were they blinded to other, more plausible explanations. Hold on for a second. Before we start letting our imaginations run wild, isn't there someone else that could be considered a suspect? Mr. Justice, please explain yourself. On the day of the incident, there was a special event held at QB Manor, and as part of this event, there was someone dressed in the likeness of Tenma Taro. Obviously, this person is a much more likely suspect than any legendary demon.
Objection!
Dullard, you're playing right into the killer's mind games. What? Listen here. The feathers and tracks were merely red herring. The villagers believe the murder to be the work of the real Tenma Taro. However, the police believe that the person in the Tenma Taro suit is the killer. Ah! The defendant sought to sow this confusion in order to deflect blame away from himself. However, he was knocked unconscious by the alderman, and thus our mentally deficient mayor was caught red-handed at the scene of the crime.
Objection!
Do you honestly believe Mayor Tenma would do something so stupid?
Objection!
The evidence speaks for itself. Fulbright. Fulbright. Right, it was the mayor's last-ditch effort to stop the opposition before things got crazy. The Amazing Nine-Tails was fueling both the yokai craze and the anti-merger movement. Plus, he's one of the better-known masked wrestlers and the hometown's favorite. That's why the mayor panicked and set out on the path of injustice. But do the people of Nine-Tails Vale really believe a yokai is behind the crime? Yokai sightings are an everyday event there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I must say, a crime that preys upon innocent, impressionable minds. Just so, a particular silver-tongued inmate once had the following words for me. The innocent of heart are the easiest prey. You don't say. Was this inmate a con artist? No. He was framed for the murder of his beloved. I actually felt sorry for the poor chap. Wait, so he wasn't the predator, but rather the prey? Yes, well. Now then, the defense may proceed with their cross-examination. This entire case centers on one man's attempt to crush opposition to the municipal merger.
Hold it!
Detective Fulbright, is the anti-merger movement really that strong? Oh, absolutely. They parade around in yokai costumes shouting, "Down with Mayor Tenma!" And just the other day they stormed Tenma City Hall claiming it was a den of vipers. But when the accused showed his face, the angry mob scattered like leaves upon an autumn wind. For you see, lowly yokai are no match for Tenma Taro, the Dark Lord of their kind. Wait, are the villagers scared of Mayor Tenma or Tenma Taro? I'm confused. I think he means Mayor Tenma. It's easy to get the wrong impression about the guy. Detective Fulbright, why do you suppose the defendant would commit such an act? Mayor Tenma panicked when the Amazing Nine-Tails helped embolden the protest.
Hold it!
The Amazing Nine-Tails. No one knows his true identity, right? That's right. And he was a lone wolf, or in other words, he didn't belong to a wrestling federation. He appeared like a shooting star, defeating one Tenma Town wrestler after another. And before anyone knew it, he was Champion! Like the samurai of yore, surrounded thick with enemies, he cut them down one by one. It was a complete and utter loss of face for Tenma Town Pro Wrestling. He was amazing. If ever there was a real superhero, it would be him. I dream of becoming a true champion of justice like him someday. I bet Detective Fulbright would be a great pro wrestler. He could even team up with Prosecutor Blackwell, a police detective and a prisoner in chains. You know, I think people would actually pay to see that. I know I would. Ha ha ha. So you do understand the greatness that is the Amazing Nine Tails. So, he stoked the villagers' fear by fabricating a monster.
Hold it!
Did the murder and yokai evidence really stoke the villagers' fear? Absolutely. It had an immediate effect. The presumed return of the dreaded Tenma Taro has them shaking in their boots. Oh my, is it really that bad? That superstitious lot. It's as if Jack the Ripper had been set loose in their village. The mere thought of that demon lurking about is enough to spark a mass exodus. I see. That's a very persuasive argument. The mere thought of His Honor buying into Simon the Psycho Slasher's words makes me want to spark my own exodus out of the courtroom right about now. So you see, there can be only one reason why anyone would plant those feathers and tracks. The strange feathers and tracks he planted made it look like a yokai was the killer. But it doesn't add up. If what you say is true, why top it off with murder? What do you mean? You claim that our client planted the yokai evidence to stoke the villagers' fear. If so, then why not stop there? Why murder Alderman Kyubi? Excellent point. It is, isn't it? So, Your Honor agrees there was no reason for the murder, correct?
Objection!
Perhaps the killing was spur of the moment. You're saying it was premeditated? From the outset, I had no intention of paying heed to any of your babble. However, the fact is, the mayor made a startling discovery. A startling discovery? Why don't I like the sound of that? Alderman Kyubi's secret identity. Apollo, I think Prosecutor Blackwell has figured out the Alderman's secret identity. But even if he has, why would it be a motive for the mayor to commit murder? This is not good. This patch of fur was discovered at the crime scene. It's from the mask worn by the Amazing Nine Tails. Therefore, we can conclude that this mask was at the crime scene. Oh, why? But why would it have been there? The victim was a former pro wrestler and a member of the anti-merger movement. Need I say more? Well, could it really be? Your baldness has had an epiphany, I see. Our victim, Rex Kyubi, was the Amazing Nine Tails, and the mayor's discovery of such was his motive for murder. No! Yeah, it's looking bad as hell. Order! Order! What a shocking development. A motive clearer than crystal clear. What do we do now, Apollo? I don't think they'd tie the Alderman's secret identity to the mayor's motive for murder. At last, we've reached my real point. Why did the Alderman have to forge a secret identity? Does it not pique your interest, your baldness? I admit it does. It is odd that he had to create this other persona, just to secretly participate in the anti-merger movement. Very astute of you, your baldness. Right, now take a look at this. Blackmail letter. If you value your dearest life, you will merge Ninetales Vale with Tenma Town. Do not tell anyone about this threat. If you do, consider yourself as good as dead. This blackmail letter was found in Alderman Kyubi's pocket. What? At present, the Alderman's wife is in the hospital. And that letter is clear evidence the mayor was blackmailing him by threatening her life. Wait, didn't the blackmail letter sent to Mayor Tenma go missing? Right after the Alderman's murder? You think maybe the killer took the letter from the mayor after the murder? And planted it into the Alderman's pocket? It's possible. But we don't have any proof that that's what happened. Talk about being up the creek without a paddle.
Yeah, we're pretty screwed.
Mayor Tenma would have made a clean getaway if he's just left after planning the yokai thing. But he was knocked out cold by his sudden decision to kill the Amazing Ninetales. So it was the Amazing Ninetales' counterattack that brought the entire crime to light. Wait a sec. Fulbright's claiming that the mayor killed the alderman after planning the yokai evidence. And that the mayor was knocked out cold immediately after that? Detective Fulbright, please add your previous statement to your testimony. Mayor Tenma killed the sleeping alderman after planting the feathers in tracks.
He planted the feathers in tracks and then killed him. There's... Okay.
You always do what they tell you? No. Try it. See what your good driving can save you. Don't even have to switch. Unless you're scared.
Scared. Yeah, we can still see you.
No, you can't.
Pretty sure.
Oh.
Try Snapchat.
Well, let's press it first.
So let me get this straight. You believe the mayor planted the yokai evidence before the murder, not after? Absolutely. And then he was knocked out cold by the alderman's last punch. He wouldn't have had a chance to plant the evidence after that. Something's not right here. Hard to believe that a stiff, humorless man like the mayor could be behind such a stunt. We have to do something, Apollo, before they pin it all on the mayor. Then we're going to need to prove that Mayor Tenma didn't plant that yokai stuff. How are we supposed to do that?
How do we prove that he didn't plant it? What do I do? I'm lost. I know I gotta present something.
Objection!
Yeah, I knew it was. Detective Fulbright, your sense of justice is anything but fair. What's this? You dare question my justice again? Yes, and I'm going to prove it to you. Take a look at this photo. This is the crime scene photo. And just what does this prove? It proves when the feathers and tracks were planted. But I already told you they were planted before the murder. The defendant planted the yokai evidence, then was knocked out while killing his victim. But that would be impossible. If you look right here, it's clear when the feathers and tracks were left at the scene.
I don't even know what does prove that. Something walking out.
Aren't you just pointing to the yokai feathers and tracks, Mr. Justice?
No, something walking out.
Yes, see how the feathers are on top of the blood and the tracks were made in blood? In other words, the yokai evidence could have only resulted after the murder.
Oh, okay. Well, that works too.
Then the mayor must have planted the evidence after killing the alderman. But you said it yourself. The mayor had been knocked unconscious thereafter. There would have been no time for him to plant any evidence at all, therefore, there must have been someone else besides the mayor and the alderman at the crime scene. Ah, there must be some mistake. Order! Order! Where's your evidence? You can't possibly have any, can you? Evidence? Hell, I have evidence, in fact. I have an eyewitness's testimony for you. You do? But how? Was my vaunted sense of justice really just half-baked? He's taking this really hard. Mr. Justice, what is this testimony regarding a third party that you claim to have? I have it right here, Your Honor. It's the sworn testimony of Mr. Tenma's daughter. The witness, Jinxie Tenma, saw a yokai in the hallway after stumbling upon the scene. It was the demon Tenma Taro. He's the source of those feathers and tracks.
Yeah, that doesn't look that good. Will somebody please say something?
The defense will explain to the court exactly what he means. You dare to mock this court and justice itself. You're unfit to bear your name, boy. Your baldness. It appears our defense attorney here is delirious from exhaustion.
Apollo, think of something quick before you're held in contempt of court.
What do you think I'm trying to do? Before you decide whether I should step down, please, hear me out. Very well, Mr. Justice, I'm all ears, but you had better explain yourself well. What was this yokai you were talking about?
It's all in this statement here. Jinxie Tenma asserts that she saw Tenma Taro after she discovered the crime scene and called the police. She came around a corner in the hall. It was around here that she saw Tenma Taro fleeing toward the foyer. The defense asserts that whoever was impersonating this monster is the one who left those feathers and tracks behind intentionally or otherwise.
What? How incredibly unjust. Why haven't I heard about this before?
The defense just proved there was someone else. So the mayor isn't the killer? Was it all a setup? The prosecutor is a convict felon after all. Apollo, the momentum has shifted in our favor. Good. Now let's keep it that way.
Objections!
Uh-oh.
Little do you realize. That though you are in the midst of a fray, your sword is broken.
My sword? I didn't know I had one to break. Are you implying there's a problem with my claim? Consider this. If that yokai impersonator had indeed fled toward the foyer, that fool and that fop would have seen him. Fool and fop? Oh, you mean Filch and LaBelle. Now that you mention it. Yeah, but their testimonies suck. There's no way that they did not see him. Especially since LaBelle was one of the ones that killed him. He's the one that killed him. Pretty much. Both Phineas Filch and Florent LaBelle were in the foyer at the time, but they haven't stated that they saw a yokai, have they? Did you ever consider that yokai was but a figment of a scared little girl's imagination? Why didn't those two see the Tenma Taro impersonator pass by? Why don't we ask them ourselves? I was just about to say that myself. No, really, I was. The defense would like to call Mr. Phineas Filch, caretaker of Kyubi Manor, to the stand. I just know he must have seen something. I suppose we can't ignore the fact that the little girl believes she saw a monster. I trust you have no objections to Mr. Justice's request, Prosecutor Blackwell? I understand that Mr. Filch is enjoying a nap out in the lobby. I knew that Tanuki was a rare find. But when we captured him, I didn't think he'd end up a witness. Do with him as you will. Did he just say captured? No, wait. I don't want to know.
Very well, then. Bailiff, please go wake Mr. Filch and escort him to the witness stand. Very well, then, Bailiff. Please go wake Mr. Filch and escort him to the witness stand. Will the witness state his name and occupation, please?
The name's Filch. Phineas Filch, caretaker of Kyubi Manor. Oh, and this is for you, your lordship. Just a little something I thought you might like.
Oh my, what a fabulous pair of shoes. And your honor will do just fine, Mr. Filch.
Ah, it's those shoes again. Don't they belong to Detective Fulbright? Don't tell me Filch stole them again. They're all yours, your honorship, sir.
What? But they seem awfully expensive.
Yep, too expensive for me, but I reckon they'd be perfect for someone like you, like your honorship.
It's a kind gesture, but legal ethics dictate I can't accept such gifts.
Ethics, schmatics. Just take them if you want them. Polished. If you want them, polish them up. Real nice for you, too.
I'm sorry about the shoes, Mr. Filch, but I will accept your testimony. The court would like to hear whether you saw Tenma Taro in the foyer after the murder.
Guarding the foyer. At the time of the murder, I was on guard duty in the foyer, just like Mr. Kyubi's asked. I was making sure no one fair, foul, fishy, or otherwise could get into our guests. I was still in my office, keeping a good watch when the murder happened, after 3 p.m. But I didn't see nothing out of the ordinary. No, sir. That yokai you keep jabbering on about was but a phantom of a little girl's dream. So, you're telling this court you never saw anyone dressed up like Tenma Taro? Yep, was guarding the whole time. That's the truth. The holy truth and nothing but the truth. And Tenma Taro, bah, yeah, don't really believe in all the yokai mumbo jumbo, do ya? I certainly don't. My bracelet. It's... Something the matter, Apollo? My bracelet keeps squeezing my arm. Really? So you think Mr. Tanuki, I mean Filch, has been lying to us? I wouldn't rule it out. Now, if I could just zero in on some sort of nervous habit. Screech! Ah! What's a hawk doing in here?
Allow me to introduce my trusty cohort, Taka. He seems to have taken quite a liking to the courthouse. Made it his new home, in fact. He doesn't live with you, you know, in jail. Who's ever heard of a courthouse bird? Taka simply loathes trickery and fraud. And that queer power of yours seems to have offended my dear bosom buzzard. This isn't some sort of trick or... I won't be able to spot squat like this. What the heck's going on around here? Run for the hills. No pets or other animals allowed in the court. Screech! Somebody help! Oh, he's merely having a bit of sport. He won't harm you, save when truly famished. In that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, you will ensure your feathered friend is properly fed. Looks like we have to do this the old-fashioned way. We'll be fine, I think. If there was someone dressed as Tenma Taro, there, Filch should have seen him. We'll just have to put our faith in Jinxie's statement for now. Mr. Justice, please proceed with your cross-examination.
This is the one that I found weird. Because if I look at this, this says that he was watching a fight at 3. This is definitely a contradiction. Don't lie to the court like that, Mr. Filch. Hey, it ain't right to bushwhack a fella like that. That was an obvious contradiction there. Unfortunately for you, I have evidence that proves you're lying. If you look at this TV listing, here you'll see that at the time of the crime, there was a pro wrestling match scheduled. Something you'd never miss. Ugh, I didn't watch that one, no sir. I was doing my job just like I was supposed to. This guy doesn't know when to give up. Mr. Filch, someone even circled the match. It was you, right? Yipes. Not only that, you even told me you watched it. You said, and I quote, "It was a complete disaster." So, do you admit to slacking off? You can't trick me with your Rudy-poo lawyer talk. I'm one of the professional types. I can do double duty watching TV and the foyer at the same time. The only thing Filch can claim to be a professional of is professional thief. Mr. Justice, you would have this court believe the witness was slacking off. That's correct. He claims to have been watching TV and the foyer at the same time, but that's nothing but a bald-faced lie. Bald, you say? But I'm not the one who's lying. Perhaps you meant the witness, Mr. Justice? And in that case, let's see what evidence you can offer. You claim Mr. Filch is lying about watching TV and the foyer simultaneously. Now prove it. Okay. Well, right here, the TV's in the back corner there, so he would have to be turned around to watch it, which means that it would be easy for someone to just slip by. Please take a look at the direction of the TV is facing in this diagram. Now, unless Mr. Filch has eyes where his right ear should be, I think it would be impossible to watch the foyer entrance and the TV at the same time. Why, yes, someone watching TV there couldn't possibly see the entrance. Exactly, and that means, Mr. Filch, you were slacking off and were not watching the foyer as you claim. Yipes! The bag's out of the cat. I mean, other way around. Order, order, order.
But Mr. Justice, is Mr. Filch's less than stellar work ethic relevant to this case?
It's very relevant, because while he was slacking off watching TV, there really could have been a Tenmataro impersonator in the foyer.
Objection!
What now? Granted, this Tanuki was lax in his duties, but he still had the foyer entrance covered. What are you talking about? The camera? So it would have caught something and it didn't. This. I'm not a mind reader. Yeah. Auditory sense. His eyes may have been slacking off, but his ears were still hard at work, right, Tanuki? They were... yes, they were. But you already admitted to slacking off. Now you say you weren't? My eyes might be lazy, but my ears ain't. I would have heard anyone in the foyer. You see, the foyer floor and stairway get all creaky squeaky when someone walks on them. Creak, creak, creak. Loud enough to wake the dead, I reckon. So, you're saying you didn't hear anybody walk by? Yep, my ears were working full time, so who's the liar now, you no good shyster? Lying thief calling me a shyster. This has to be the low point of my fledgling career. Gotta hand it to you, Mr. Blackquill, sir. You really are something else. I mean, you don't miss a thing. Them bags under your eyes, they're darker than mine. Fair warning, Mr. Filch. Taka is particularly fond of Tanuki. Should you lie to this court again, you may suddenly find yourself on the menu. Yipes! Please don't eat me, Mr. Taka, sir!
The witness will henceforth testify truthfully under penalty of painful bird attacks. And with that in mind, the court requests that the witness revise his testimony accordingly.
Ears working overtime. It's true I was watching a pro wrestling match on the office TV. My eyes might have been slacking off, but my ears, they were working overtime. The floor there's all creaky squeaky like. No way I would have missed someone walking by. So you see, there weren't no Tenmataro in the foyer. I got something to disprove that, though. I don't know if it'll be credible, but really, anything's credible in this game. Superstition is the religion of feeble minds. Understand? A simple rational explanation is best. Forget yokai demons and such. We must use common sense, for lacking that our entire world would be but upside down. Says the convict prosecutor is totally a sign of the end times for the legal world. And besides, if there were any yokai roaming about, I'd nab them and sell them to the zoo. I wonder whether Jinxie was just seeing things. That seems to be the general consensus, but I'm sticking to my guns. But if we can't prove she saw Tenmataro, the mayor's sure to be convicted. Then we'd better hope my guns fire bullets, not BBs.
The defense may cross-examine the witness.
Alright, I think I can present it here.
Objection!
No! Damn it. I thought this would work to present. Oh, you bastard. Alright, I'm gonna have to press them so I can see where I can present stuff. Okay. Let's press them up.
Hold it!
You lied earlier about taking your guard duty seriously, didn't you? Oh, that. Ain't no harm in bending the truth a little, right? Listen to me, you little Tanuki. Lie again and Taka shall feast upon that forked tongue of yours. Just let me keep my tongue. At least leave it until we get the truth out of him in any case. You were negligent in your duties, were you not? Yes, sir. I was, sir. But it ain't like that.
Hold it!
So you have pretty good ears, Mr. Filch. As good as they come, I'd say. Ain't nothing to hear a creaky floor. Plus that Tenmataro makes a sound when he goes by. It's like a jingle-jangle. Jingle-jangle. How does he do that? It's that staff of his. That's what jingle-jangles. What's he talking about, Apollo? Beats me, but I guess Tenmataro has a staff that makes noise. Come to think of it, didn't Jinxie mention something like that too? She said she saw Tenmataro holding a staff-like object that made a jangly sound. I guess that's the source of the noise then. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Filch says Tenmataro jingle-jangles. Would you consider that vital information? Very important information. Extremely vital. I request that it be added to his testimony. Can I present the scroll, maybe?
Objection!
Because this is the sole document that says that Tenmataro does not have a staff. Tenmataro's staff would make a jangly sound, you say. Well, I'm going to say that your story doesn't add up. Is there something the defense would like to share with the court? Mr. Filch, you say that you didn't see Tenmataro on the day of the incident. Why then? Why did you assume just now that Tenmataro would be holding a staff? Huh? You see, the Tenmataro Jinxie saw held a staff in his hand, and she described its sound just like you did, as a kind of jangly sound. Yeah, so he was holding a staff. What's your point?
Objection!
The point is that Tenmataro doesn't use a staff, not normally. What are you talking about? You see, this is the only known document depicting Tenmataro. Is there a staff in that picture, Mr. Filch? You're right. There's no staff, not even a cane or a walking stick. Nah! So the question is, why does the witness think Tenmataro uses a staff? I believe the answer will overturn the prosecution's case on the most basic level. Well now, this is getting interesting. Alright, Mr. Justice, it's time to show the court where you're going with this. Please tell the court why Mr. Filch believes Tenmataro carries his staff. Mr. Filch actually saw Tenmataro right after the crime occurred. That's the only way he could possibly know about the staff. Busted again! Bloody hell, you duplicitous little... Yes, how'd that feel, Blackwell? Not so fun when you're on the receiving end of the blade, is it? Got him on the ropes, Apollo. Admit it, Mr. Filch. You did see Tenmataro that day, didn't you? Well, I'm begging you, please don't make me say it. But clearly you did see Tenmataro. Stop stalling and testify to that fact. No can do, no way, no how. You ain't got no idea how terrifying he can be. He? Mr. Filch still won't admit seeing Tenmataro, even though everyone already knows he did. The question now is why? Mr. Filch is scared to death. Is that why he can't admit the truth? Come to think of it. They say you must not gaze upon Tenmataro, but in the event that you do, look, and then tell anyone what you saw, Tenmataro will claim your soul. Jinxie wouldn't admit to seeing Tenmataro after hearing about the village superstitions. She said that if she told anyone that she had seen Tenmataro, he'd claim her soul. Wait, you think Filch believes that too? So Mr. Big Time City Slicker lawyer has heard about him. The old village superstitions. Will the defense please explain what the witness is talking about? The people of Ninetails Vale believe some pretty strange things, and their superstitions may be the reason our witness here can't admit the truth. The truth that he really did see Tenmataro. Darn straight, that's why. It's all right here. Do not gaze upon Tenmataro. Do not tell others if you see him. Ignore the superstitions. Will cost you your soul. There is, however, one way to save it. Your immediate departure from the village. Ignoring superstitions will cost you your soul. See? That's why us folks in Ninetails Vale can't talk about seeing Tenmataro. Village superstitions added to the records. That clears up one mystery. The killer took advantage of the superstitions by wearing a Tenmataro costume. They knew that way no one could talk about him, so it was as if he never existed. The defense holds that this Tenmataro impersonator is the true killer. What?
Objection!
Superstitions, you say? What kind of a fool would actually believe such rubbish? And would that, using some silly fairy tale, so easily expose the culprit? You'll need to come up with a more rational, common sense explanation than that.
Objection!
Your common sense seems awfully narrow-minded to me, Prosecutor Blackwood.
Objection!
Oh, they're going back and forth. Try living in my world of narrow cells, mortal danger, and dark sleepless nights. There's no lack of superstitions in the clink, but few are those who truly believe in them.
Objection!
Well, the village superstitions are real enough to the people of Ninetails Vale. A life or death superstition might make even you a believer. Rah! Damn. Apollo's killing it. Order! Order, I say! You fool of a Tanuki! 2 times now your lies have cost me. Sorry, I promise not to do it again. Taka, my fine feathered friend. Have at him. Yipes, he's gonna eat me alive. Head for the hills. Ah, he took off. But bailiff, what are you waiting for after him? And with your fastest men? That's certainly not something you see every day. Well, it would seem a new and important fact has come to light. A third party disguised as the yokai, Tenmataro, was at the scene. And now we have 2 witnesses who can attest to that fact. Any objections, Prosecutor Blackwell? I hope you can read that, somebody. Oh, crap. Ah! No! What? Huh? Ah! His shackles. What the hell? Ah! I'm too young to die. Oh, crap. Justice, Dono. Long has it been since I've been forced to draw my blade. You had best say your prayers. Eek! Oh crap. Oh crap. Detective, do something! Ha ha ha. Have no fear, Fulbright is here. When the going gets tough, the champion of justice gets going.
Objection!
Then get going already before he kills us. Oh, but I stand in awe of Simon Blackwell, for it is his sense of justice that set him free. Objection! Objection! I object to Detective Fulbright's definition of justice.
Silence!
I'm not in the habit of cutting down unarmed cowards. Oh,
Well, in that case, Prosecutor Blackwell, can I ask you to, you know...
I think the judge forgot he's in charge here. So Justice Dono's assertion is this. Tenma Taro is the real killer, not Mayor Tenma. According to him, there was a yokai at the scene of the crime. Right. And that yokai, or rather whoever was impersonating him, killed Alderman Kyubi.
Silence.
Jeez. Nah. Care to explain why Jinxie, being the first to discover the murder, did not see your alleged killer yokai there in the Fox chamber? What? He's right. She said nothing about Tenma Taro being in the Fox chamber. Let me enlighten you. That little scamp heard a dying scream right before she opened the chamber door. And your point is? Upon opening the door, she found a freshly skewed murder victim, the alderman, and the homicidal maniac who had killed him, the mayor. No, there must have been someone dressed up like Tenma. Then, why does that little scamp claim not to have seen a yokai in the Fox chamber?
Considering her father is accused of murder, surely she would have mentioned any third party that might have been in the room.
I don't understand. Why didn't she see Tenma Taro inside the Fox chamber? There's but one way to find out. Ask Jinxie Tenma whether she saw your killer yokai at the scene of the crime. Uh-oh. The final battle draws nigh. Only one of us will leave here alive. Long has my blade thirsted for blood. At long last it shall be sated. Wait, this is still a trial, right? Show me what you're truly capable of. Justice Dono!
Very well then. Both parties no doubt need some time to regroup. So the court will take a 10-minute recess in order to...
3 minutes.
I'm sorry, but a 3-minute recess?
Just so plenty of time if your destination of intent is the loo.
The loo? You mean the bathroom?
Sheesh. At least include enough time to wash our hands. See that you take no more than 3 minutes. All latecomers will be punished.
Yes, sir. I hereby declare a 3-minute recess before the battle begins.
I declare Prosecutor Blackwell the winner of this round of Simon Says. Don't bode well for us if the prosecutor is running the show, does it? Well, we gotta recess. This trial is heating up. On the next part, I guess we jump into the final battle against Prosecutor Blackwell. See then?